The depths unknown. The massive mothership hung in Earth's orbit like a metallic thundercloud, its surface reflecting the pale blue glow of the planet below. Inside the vessel's observation deck, Commander Tnar stood before the curved viewport, his single large eye fixed on the swirling oceanic patterns that dominated the planet's surface. His gray skin seemed to shimmer in the reflected light as he contemplated the next phase of their invasion. Fascinating, isn't it? The voice belonged to his brother, Treyer, who approached with the characteristic clicking sound their species made when walking. So much water. Nothing like our homeworld. Tnar didn't respond immediately. His mind was occupied with the latest data streaming through the neural interface embedded in his elongated skull. The invasion had proceeded according to plan, major cities reduced to ash, human military forces scattered and broken, their primitive weapons proving useless against Arif Shurian technology. Yet something nagged at the edges of his consciousness, a doubt he couldn't quite articulate. "Have you reviewed the marine analysis?" he finally asked, turning to face his brother. Treyer's more muscular frame cast a shadow across the polished floor. "Yes. The biological diversity is remarkable. Some of the creatures." Treyer paused, pulling up a holographic display from his wrist device. The image of an anglerfish materialized between them, rotating slowly, its bioluminescent lure glowing eerily in the dim light of the observation deck. "They've evolved to survive in conditions that would crush our strongest vessels," Tnar mused. "The pressure at those depths, it's beyond anything we've encountered before." The brothers' attention was drawn to a sudden commotion outside the viewport. A squad of their attack craft was returning from another bombing run, their energy weapons having laid waste to another coastal city. The humans' resistance was becoming increasingly desperate and disorganized. But it was what lay beneath the waves that truly concerned Tnar. Their seismic sensors, hastily deployed in the early stages of the invasion, had detected anomalous readings from the ocean depths. Patterns that didn't match any known geological or biological signatures in their vast database. "Emperor Agnik wants a progress report," Treyer said, breaking the silence. "He's growing impatient." Tnar's fingers moved rapidly over the control panel, bringing up multiple data streams. "Tell him the surface campaign proceeds as planned." "But..." He hesitated, knowing the risk of voicing his concerns. "I believe we need to understand more about these oceans before proceeding with full colonization." "You worry too much, brother," Treyer said, placing a hand on Tnar's shoulder. "The humans are primitive. Their greatest weapons have proved useless against us. What threat could possibly lurk in these waters?" Before Tnar could respond, an alert flashed across their neural interfaces. Something was happening in the North Atlantic region. The seismic sensors were registering massive movement patterns, unlike anything they'd recorded before. "Look at this," Tnar said, expanding the holographic display. "These energy signatures, they're organized. Deliberate." The data showed massive disturbances moving through the deep ocean trenches, following patterns that couldn't be natural. And they were accelerating, converging on specific points along the continental shelves. "Impossible," Treyer whispered, his usual bravado faltering as he studied the readings. "These can't be random geological events." Tnar's mind raced back to the historical archives, to records of their species' first attempted invasion of Earth, over 2 millennia ago. The mission that had ended in mysterious disaster, with entire assault fleets lost to what the survivors had described as the fury of the waters. At the time, those accounts had been dismissed as the ravings of traumatized soldiers. But now, a low rumble vibrated through the mothership's hull, causing both brothers to freeze. On the planet below, massive disturbances were becoming visible even from orbit, circular patterns of turbulence spreading across the ocean surfaces like ripples in a pond. But these ripples were dozens of kilometers wide. "Alert the fleet," Tnar ordered, his voice tight with urgency. "All vessels to maximum altitude. Now." But even as the words left his mouth, he knew it might already be too late. The oceans of Earth had kept their secrets for millions of years, evolving creatures that could survive in the most extreme conditions imaginable. And now, after millennia of slumber, something ancient and powerful was stirring in those lightless depths. As Tnar watched in horror, the first of their destroyer-class ships, maintaining low orbit for bombardment runs, was suddenly caught in a massive waterspout that seemed to defy the laws of physics, reaching up into the atmosphere like a liquid tendril. The ship's energy shields flared brilliant blue for a moment before failing completely, and then the vessel was simply gone, dragged down into the roiling waters below. By the void, Treyer breathed, his military discipline cracking as more waterspouts began to form, reaching for their fleet like hungry fingers. What have we awakened? The answer, Tnar realized with growing dread, lay in those abyssal depths they'd so arrogantly dismissed. The humans weren't the only intelligent life on this water-rich world. And now, their invasion had drawn the attention of something far more ancient and terrible than anything their civilization had ever encountered. As chaos erupted across the command deck, with emergency alerts blaring and officers shouting contradictory orders, Tnar's single eye remained fixed on the swirling patterns forming across Earth's oceans. Their sensors were detecting massive objects moving through the deep waters, things that dwarfed their largest vessels. The invasion fleet that had seemed so mighty just hours ago now looked like tiny insects compared to what was emerging from the planet's oceanic depths. The real war for Earth was about to begin. And the Erev Shirayan were about to learn why their ancestors had failed to conquer this world so long ago. The oceans had guardians, ancient, powerful, and now very, very angry. Ancient defenders. The Erev Shirayan mothership's emergency klaxons blared as more vessels disappeared beneath the impossibly tall waterspouts. Commander Tnar watched in horror as the ocean itself seemed to wage war against their fleet. His brother Treyer had already rushed to the combat command center, coordinating what defensive measures they could muster against this unprecedented threat. Deep beneath the surface, in the darkness of the Mariana Trench, ancient machinery hummed to life. The Hydra Sapiens, Earth's first intelligent civilization, had waited millions of years for this moment. Their biomechanical cities, hidden in the planet's deepest trenches, had served as silent watchers through the ages, maintaining their vigil as younger species evolved and developed on the surface. Within the crystalline chambers of New Atlantis, the Hydra Sapien High Council convened for the first time in millennia. Their bodies, evolved for the crushing pressures of the deep, were massive yet graceful, translucent tissues housing bioluminescent organs, tentacular appendages capable of manipulating complex machinery, and neural networks that put even the most advanced Erev Shirayan computers to shame. The surface dwellers have failed to repel this invasion, first speaker Natilia announced, her thoughts resonating through the water via complex harmonic frequencies. The time has come to honor our ancient pact. The pact she spoke of had been made with the first primitive humans to discover traces of their civilization. The Hydra Sapiens had chosen to remain hidden, allowing humanity to develop independently, but they had sworn to protect Earth's oceans, and by extension, all surface life, should an extraterrestrial threat ever arise. Across the globe, in every major ocean trench, vast arrays of quantum gravitational manipulators activated, giving the Hydra Sapiens control over water itself at the molecular level. This was the technology that allowed them to create the massive waterspouts that had already claimed several alien vessels. In the mothership's command center, Tnar received increasingly desperate reports from their surviving ships. Their energy weapons, so effective against human targets, dissipated harmlessly in the animated waters. Traditional projectiles were slowed and rendered useless by the altered viscosity of the liquid medium. Emperor Agnik demands we launch a full-scale assault on the ocean floor, Treyer reported, his voice tight with stress. He believes if we can't control the waters, we should boil them away entirely. Madness, Tnar whispered. The energy required would destabilize the entire planet. We'd be destroying the very world we came to conquer. But orders were orders, and the remaining Erev Shirayan fleet began to move into position. Massive energy collectors extended from their ships, preparing to channel enough power to vaporize entire seas. The Hydra sapiens detected the energy buildup immediately. In response, they activated their most closely guarded weapons, the Leviathans. Deep in the oceanic trenches, massive chambers opened, releasing bioengineered creatures that represented the pinnacle of their genetic engineering capabilities. These weren't simple sea monsters, but living weapons platforms, their very bodies housing organic versions of the Hydra sapiens' most advanced technologies. Each Leviathan was the size of a small city, their bodies protected by crystalline armor that could withstand the pressure at the bottom of the ocean trenches. As the first Leviathan breached the surface, the Erev Shur-Ion crews finally saw what they were truly facing. The creature's massive form dwarfed their largest ships, its crystalline scales refracting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. Banks of specialized organs along its flanks could generate electromagnetic pulses capable of disrupting any technology they encountered. Impossible, Treyer breathed, watching through the command center's viewscreen as the creature rose higher, water cascading from its mile-long form. No biological entity could achieve that scale. But the Hydra sapiens had had millions of years to perfect their creations, drawing on an understanding of genetics and bioengineering that made the aliens' technology look primitive in comparison. The Leviathans were living proof that evolution, guided by sufficient intelligence and given enough time, could produce things that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. More Leviathans emerged across the globe, their appearances coordinated for maximum strategic impact. The creatures moved with impossible grace for their size, coordinated by the Hydra sapiens' vast neural networks. They targeted the alien ships methodically, their electromagnetic pulses shutting down vital systems before massive tentacles simply crushed the vessels like toys. In New Atlantis, First Speaker Natalia monitored the battle through the Hydra sapiens' quantum-entangled sensory network. The surface dwellers' chronicles speak of sea monsters and great floods, she communicated to the High Council. Today, we show them the truth behind their legends. The Erev Shur-Ion fleet's attempt to boil the oceans was met with another surprise. As their energy weapons powered up, the water around their ship suddenly crystallized into structures harder than diamond, a demonstration of the Hydra sapiens' mastery over matter at the molecular level. The aliens found their ships literally frozen in place, encased in lattices of crystallized water that their weapons couldn't penetrate. Tnar, watching his species' greatest invasion force being systematically dismantled, felt a strange mix of terror and awe. The creatures emerging from Earth's oceans represented a level of biological and technological advancement that his people had never imagined possible. All their careful planning, their superior technology, their military might, all of it meant nothing in the face of what had evolved in Earth's oceans. As the battle raged on, Tnar received a transmission from Emperor Agnik himself. The Emperor's singular eye blazed with fury as he demanded an explanation for the disaster unfolding before them. But how could Tnar explain what they were facing? How could he describe a civilization that had turned the oceans themselves into a weapon, that had created living battleships which made their most advanced vessels look like primitive toys? The answer, he realized, lay in the very thing they had dismissed, the power of evolution in Earth's oceans, guided by an intelligence old enough to have witnessed the birth of the first land animals. The Erev Shur-Ion had thought themselves the most advanced species in this sector of space, but they were young compared to the civilization that had been watching and waiting in Earth's depths. As another Leviathan rose from the waves, its crystalline form catching the light of the setting sun, Tnar made a decision that would change the course of the invasion, and possibly the future of both their species. The real question was whether Emperor Agnik would listen before it was too late. Revelations of the Deep. Emperor Agnik's holographic form loomed over the mothership's war room, his singular eye burning with barely contained rage. Before him stood Commander Tnar, Brother Treyer, and the remaining high-ranking officers of what had been the most powerful invasion fleet in Erev Shur-Ion history. Now, barely a third of their ships remained operational. "You speak of impossibilities," Agnik hissed, his form flickering as another electromagnetic pulse from a Leviathan rippled through their systems. "Ancient underwater civilizations? Living weapons? Have you lost your mind, Commander?" Tnar stood his ground, projecting the latest sensor data into the space between them. The evidence is undeniable, my emperor. These beings, these Hydra sapiens, their technology operates on principles we barely understand. They've achieved perfect synthesis between biological and mechanical systems. The holographic display showed cross-sections of a captured piece of Leviathan tissue, revealing crystalline structures that seemed to blur the line between organic and artificial. Within the cellular matrices, quantum-scale mechanisms performed calculations that surpassed their most advanced computers. More importantly, Nar continued, they're not just defending their territory. They're protecting the humans. There's a connection we never knew about, a pact that predates recorded history. In the depths of New Atlantis, First Speaker Nautilia and the High Council were making their own revelations. Their vast archival networks, storing millions of years of Earth's history, had identified the heir of Shur-Ion. They were not the first species to evolve along their particular path, aggressive, technologically advanced, but ultimately young and arrogant. They follow the same pattern, Nautilia communicated to her fellow council members. Like so many before them, they mistake technological advancement for true evolution. They never learn to work with their environment, only to dominate it. The Hydra sapiens had chosen a different path. Instead of trying to conquer their environment, they had learned to adapt to it, to work within its constraints. Their mastery of genetic engineering hadn't come from a desire to control nature, but from a deep understanding of life's fundamental principles. Above the surface, another heir of Shur-Ion destroyer attempted to deploy their latest weapon, a massive sonic pulse designed to disrupt the molecular bonds of water itself. The response was immediate and devastating. The ocean around the ship suddenly became dense enough to crush the vessel's hull like an aluminum can, while simultaneously allowing a Leviathan to pass through it as if it were air. How is this possible? Treyer demanded, watching the destruction through the command center's viewports. They're changing the fundamental properties of matter. No, Tnar replied softly, understanding finally dawning. They're working with properties that were always there, properties we never knew existed because we never looked deep enough. He turned to his brother. Don't you see? This is why our ancestors failed. We've been fighting the wrong war all along. In the Hydra Sapien city, ancient archives were being accessed, revealing the true history of Earth's oceans. They had been more than just cradles of life, they were living laboratories where evolution had been guided and refined over millions of years. The Hydra Sapiens hadn't simply evolved naturally, they had actively participated in their own evolution, understanding biological processes at a level that made genetic engineering look crude by comparison. First Speaker Nautilia initiated contact with the heir of Shur-Ion mothership, not through conventional communication channels, but through a direct neural interface that bypassed their technology entirely. The aliens' minds were suddenly flooded with images and sensations from Earth's deep history, the rise and fall of countless species, the careful guardianship of the oceans, the slow nurturing of surface life including humanity. Your weapons cannot harm us, Nautilia's thoughts resonated through their consciousness, because we are not separate from the ocean. We are its consciousness, its purpose-given form. Every water molecule on this planet is part of our network, every current and wave an extension of our will. The revelation staggered the heir of Shur-Ion leadership. They had come expecting to find a primitive world ripe for conquest. Instead, they had stumbled into the domain of a civilization so advanced it had transcended the normal boundaries between biology, technology, and environment. Tnar, recovering from the mental contact, faced Emperor Agnik's hologram. We must withdraw, he stated firmly. This is not a war we can win. More importantly, it's not a war we should win. There are things here we need to learn, not destroy. But Agnik's eye had taken on a dangerous gleam. No, he declared. If these creatures are as integrated with Earth's oceans as they claim, then we have our solution. He turned to his commanders. Prepare the quantum annihilation device. If we cannot control these waters, we will remove them from existence entirely. The order sent shockwaves through the command center. The quantum annihilation device was their civilization's most closely guarded weapon, capable of erasing matter from reality itself. Using it on Earth's oceans would remove the Hydra Sapiens' power base, but it would also destroy the very thing they had come to claim. As the device was brought online, the Hydra Sapiens detected the quantum disturbance. In their crystalline chambers, the High Council activated protocols that had lain dormant since the birth of their civilization. If the Arab Shurion were willing to risk destroying an entire planet's biosphere, then the time had come to reveal their final secret, the true nature of Earth's oceans and their connection to something far larger than a single world. The water began to glow, not with bioluminescence or reflected light, but with an inner radiance that seemed to come from the fabric of reality itself. The Arab Shurion were about to learn why Earth's oceans were unique in all the galaxy, and why they had been protected for so long. Quantum waters. As Emperor Agnik's quantum annihilation device powered up, the oceans of Earth began to pulse with an otherworldly light. Commander Tnar watched in astonishment as patterns of luminescence spread across the planet's surface, forming intricate geometric shapes that seemed to follow some vast, underlying mathematical structure. In the depths of New Atlantis, first speaker Nautilia initiated the final protocol. Children of the shallow stars, her thoughts resonated through every Arab Shurion mind, witness the truth you were not ready to understand. The water around their ships began to change, not just in its physical properties, but in its fundamental nature. The Arab Shurion sensors detected impossible readings, quantum states that shouldn't exist in normal matter, patterns of entanglement that spread across entire oceans. The device is ready, Treya reported, his voice shaking. But our sensors, they're showing that the ocean water isn't just H2O anymore. It's something else. Tnar's single eye widened as he processed the data. The water molecules were shifting, revealing properties that defied their understanding of physics. Each droplet contained quantum information storage capabilities that exceeded their most advanced computers. Stop the device, he commanded, but it was too late. Emperor Agnik had taken direct control, and the quantum annihilation sequence had begun. The moment the device activated, something extraordinary happened. Instead of destroying the ocean, the weapon's energy was absorbed, channeled through the vast network of quantum-entangled water molecules. The Hydra Sapiens had transformed Earth's oceans into a planetary-scale quantum computer, one that had been running calculations for millions of years. Your weapon cannot destroy us, Nautilia communicated, because we exist in multiple states simultaneously. The oceans are not just our home, they are our memory, our consciousness, our link to realities you cannot comprehend. The truth began to unfold before the stunned Arab Shurion. The Hydra Sapiens hadn't just evolved in Earth's oceans, they had been cultivating them as a bridge between dimensions. Every drop of water contained quantum gates, processing information and maintaining connections across space and time. Deep in the Mariana Trench, massive structures began to rise, not biological or mechanical, but something in between. They were quantum computers given physical form, constructed from water molecules arranged with atomic precision. The Leviathans moved to protect these structures as they breached the surface, their crystalline bodies now revealed as interfaces between normal space and whatever lay beyond. The oceans are alive, Nar breathed, understanding finally dawning. Not just with biological life, but with quantum consciousness. They're a single, planet-spanning organism. Emperor Agnik's hologram flickered as the quantum disturbances increased. Impossible. No species could achieve this level of control over matter itself. Not in the time your species has existed, Nautilia responded. But we have had eons. We were here before the first fish crawled onto land, before the first dinosaur took flight. We have guided evolution itself, preparing this world for what comes next. The quantum annihilation device, still drawing power from the Arab Shurion fleet, began to overload. But instead of destroying the oceans, its energy was being redirected, feeding into the vast quantum network the Hydra Sapiens had built. The water around Earth began to shimmer with possibilities, countless quantum states collapsing and reforming in patterns that hurt to look at. Tnar watched as reality itself seemed to bend around their ships. Through the quantum distortions, he caught glimpses of other worlds, other oceans, parallel Earths where evolution had taken different paths. The Hydra sapiens hadn't just mastered their environment, they had learned to explore the quantum multiverse, using water as their medium. The choice is yours now, Nautilia communicated. Continue your attack and witness powers you cannot hope to control, or leave this world and learn from your failure. Emperor Agnic, his holographic form distorting under the quantum fluctuations, faced a decision that would determine the fate of his species. The Erev Shirayan had prided themselves on their technological superiority, but here they faced beings who had transcended the normal boundaries of evolution and physics. As the quantum storms intensified around them, Nar made a desperate move. He initiated an emergency shutdown of the entire fleet's power systems, hoping to prevent the catastrophic collapse of whatever quantum barriers the Hydra sapiens were maintaining. The oceans began to settle, the impossible geometries fading back into normal space. But the knowledge of what lay beneath the waves, a civilization that had turned an entire planet's oceans into a quantum computing substrate, would forever change how the Erev Shirayan viewed the universe. Legacy of the Deep. Emperor Agnic's holographic form stabilized as the quantum fluctuations subsided. The remaining Erev Shirayan fleet hung motionless in Earth's orbit, their mighty weapons silent. Below them, the oceans had returned to their deceptively peaceful state, though now everyone knew the truth about what lurked in their depths. The invasion is over, Tnar declared, facing his emperor's image. We must accept defeat. But Agnic's singular eye blazed with desperate fury. No. I will not be remembered as the emperor who retreated from primitives. Prepare the remaining ships for a final assault. We will. His transmission cut off abruptly as a new presence made itself known. First speaker Nautilia's consciousness touched their minds again, but this time she brought with her the full weight of the Hydra sapiens' collected knowledge. The Erev Shirayan commanders experienced millions of years of Earth's history in an instant. They saw the first single-celled organisms in the primordial seas, watched as the Hydra sapiens evolved from simple marine life into beings of extraordinary complexity. They witnessed the careful cultivation of Earth's biosphere, the patient guidance of evolution itself. Most importantly, they understood at last why Earth's oceans were unique in the galaxy. Your people once knew this truth, Nautilia communicated. In your oldest myths, before you turned to technology and conquest, you spoke of the cosmic ocean, the quantum foam from which reality itself emerges. Through the neural link, the Hydra sapiens revealed their greatest secret. Earth's oceans weren't just bodies of water, they were fragments of that primordial cosmic ocean, possessing properties that existed nowhere else in normal space. The Hydra sapiens hadn't just evolved in these waters, they had been shaped by their quantum nature, becoming living interfaces between normal space and the underlying fabric of reality. Tnar watched in awe as the water below their ships began to move in impossible ways, forming patterns that reflected higher-dimensional mathematics. The Leviathans, those massive crystalline beings, were revealed as mere extensions of something far larger, organic quantum computers that helped maintain the stability of local spacetime itself. Your weapons cannot destroy us, Nautilia explained, because we are not merely present in this reality. We exist across multiple quantum states simultaneously. The oceans you sought to conquer are nodal points in the structure of the universe itself. In that moment, Tnar understood why their ancestors' invasion had failed so catastrophically. The Hydra sapiens weren't just protecting their territory, they were maintaining the quantum stability of Earth's entire region of space. Their presence was essential to the very fabric of reality in this part of the galaxy. Emperor Agnic's transmission resumed, but the Emperor's demeanor had changed. The neural link had affected him too, showing him truths that shattered his understanding of power and conquest. The water, he whispered, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. All this time, we thought we were advanced because we could travel between stars. But you travel between realities. Yes, Nautilia confirmed. And now you understand why we cannot allow any species to disrupt the oceans of Earth. The quantum network we maintain helps stabilize the boundaries between dimensions. Without it, the very fabric of spacetime in this region would begin to unravel. The revelation hit the Arif Shurion fleet like a physical blow. Their invasion hadn't just been doomed to failure, it had risked the stability of reality itself. The weapons they'd brought, especially the quantum annihilation device, could have triggered a cascade of dimensional collapse that would have destroyed everything in this sector of space. Tnar stepped forward, making a decision that would change the course of his civilization. "We seek knowledge," he declared. "Not just technology or power, but true understanding. Will you teach us?" The question hung in the quantum-charged air as the Hydra Sapiens considered their response. Finally, Nautilia's thoughts returned, carrying both wisdom and warning. "We will share some of our knowledge," she agreed, "but you must first learn to think in deeper time. Your species races through the stars, seeking quick conquest and immediate gratification. We have watched galaxies turn, guided evolution across eons. The wisdom you seek cannot be gained through force or speed." As if to demonstrate this point, the ocean below them transformed one final time. The water became transparent, revealing glimpses of other dimensions flickering through its depths. The Arif Shurion witnessed parallel Earths, alternative evolutions, and possibilities that their science had never imagined. "This is your choice," Nautilia concluded. "Return home as conquerors who failed, or remain as students who wish to learn. But know this, the oceans of Earth will always be protected. They are more than a resource or a territory. They are the foundation upon which multiple realities rest." Emperor Agnik, his hologram now steady and clear, made the first genuine bow of his life. "We choose to learn," he declared, his voice carrying the weight of his entire civilization's future. The remaining Arif Shurion fleet powered down their weapons for the last time. As the sun rose over Earth's curved horizon, its light played across waters that were far more than they appeared. Beneath those quantum waves, the Hydra Sapiens continued their ancient work, maintaining the delicate balance between realities, while above them, a young species began its first steps toward true understanding. The oceans had protected Earth once again, not through violence or conquest, but by revealing truths that transformed would-be conquerors into humble students of a far greater cosmic design. The end.